Hello people, I am Jaby KOAY. Joining me is Cortney Wright.
Hello, hello.
We just watched Wrong Day BASANTI.
That's the one everyone voted for.
Yeah, that's the one everyone voted for. We went on Twitter and I asked what you guys want us to watch, and that's what you guys asked for. I want to go first because I feel like you have a lot to say.
You have a lot to say too.
I don't know if I have as much to say as you do. This movie wasn't what I was expecting it to be based off the initial stages of the film. It felt like one thing and then turned into a completely different film. Now, I have the benefit of having seen this is my third Amir Khan film, no, fourth actually. I saw Three Idiots, I saw PK, the wrestling one, Dangal, and now this. And so I've got a scope of Amir Khan's acting. He's a very, very, very good actor. I still believe that. This film definitely showed once again just how good of an actor he is because of his range. I was expecting it to be more of a college film, and then it turned into this crazy hardcore political film. I don't mean crazy in a negative way, by the way. I actually like the direction it went. Now, the things that I like, I really, really like. The things I don't like, I really don't like. That's how I feel.
I think that's how everybody feels though.
No, but like I have extremes of both degrees with regards to this movie in particular.
Okay.
You know, like there are things you feel okay on, and you know, with other movies. In this particular instance, it's like the things I like, I genuinely really loved. The things I didn't like, I really wish they did differently. Like, for instance, the film. Throughout the film, the things that bother me are more from director, editor perspective. Like what their contribution to it was bothered me more than everything else. Like the strobe effect that was throughout the film. It's like a fake slow motion. If you watch the film again,
like when they were dancing, like
when they were dancing, yeah.
Musical numbers. Musical. I think that was for an effect, though.
Yeah, I didn't like that effect. Okay. I really don't like that effect. It bothers me immensely. That corrupted the very beginning of the movie Gladiator, and the music. I was like, I could take it or leave it. And I know that maybe the songs are really popular, but for me, it didn't resonate very deeply. But what the movie stood for, what it was basically trying to say, what the conversation it was inciting, that's what drew me in. That's what I really appreciated about the film. That's what would bring me back to see it a second time, is the conversation that ensues from watching a film like this. I wish that I got to the other half of where it was going a lot sooner, because it spent a lot of time developing this college story before migrating into this other thing, which is really what the movie was about, because when that happened, the thing was developing in the first half was like, we don't give a fuck about that anymore. Like, this is what the film's about. Like you were saying, like, what happened to the movie?
Yeah, what happened to the film, yeah. I think, though, that aspect was, I understand what you're saying, like, you could have shortened it in a way, but that was necessary for the stage that those college students, where they began. Yeah. Like, if you had jumped to that political standpoint, even like 45 minutes into the film, it wouldn't have been truthful. You know, like you had to build them up to this place where they have a vested interest in taking up the fight, in really understanding, you know, this woman comes from from London, and with this passion about telling their history, and they're only interested in, like, you know, goofing off and being guys and, you know, having a good time. And during the course of that, them actually working on this project, I think that's what starts to awaken them. So by the time it gets to the point where their friend actually dies, now they realize how vested they didn't know they were. Right. You know, and I agree with you to some extent about the music, because I agree with you. I had no idea what this film was going to be about. Right. We both went in blind. Yeah, we went in blind, and I had a certain expectation thinking it's a Bollywood film. I mean, it was, but at the same time, it had a lot of deeper meaning underneath it that I was not expecting, and I found myself getting really emotional, especially with the difference between, like, the one Indian guy who felt himself to be a true Indian as opposed to the other guy who was Pakistani. Like, that whole relationship for me was so beautiful and so powerful in the sense of, like, understanding how to recognize and embrace each other's differences. Right. You know, that relationship, and then to find out where they went at the end, you know, and how they died together. Right. So that was so incredibly powerful. Like, I felt really moved in the sense of, like, I didn't know what was going on, you know? Like, I do agree with you to an extent about the music. I was starting to say this and then I forgot. But there were certain songs that I thought were just powerful, especially during the funeral.
Lyrically. Yeah.
And lyrically and musically, I thought it perfectly fit. Yes, it perfectly fit. And this was the one time I was really, I was like, you've given me the dialogue, like the lyrics to every single film. And this to every single musical number. This scene where I wanted to know what the singer was singing about. Like, I felt like it was conveyed through the music, but I would have loved to have known what they were saying.
Right.
That one was beautiful. I thought that was perfect.
You're talking about when all hell broke loose in the film, when like the fundamental change happened politically at the Capitol or whatever it was.
Yes, when they had the movement during the protest with the candles, and when everybody, all the violence, and everybody got, like when they essentially woke up.
Right.
And then realized the state of their country.
Right. So there was singing happening during that scene, but there were no subtitles provided for that specific scene.
Just that song.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
Now, for me, as a filmmaker, like, my style is just going to be different. That's inherently, like, how I am. And I try my best to be open-minded and go, okay, well, this is not necessarily going to be the way I would have done it. Of course not. It's not me. But, like, when that scene broke out, like you were saying, you would have loved the lyrics during that song. I would have preferred not to have that song at all in that instance.
Really?
I wanted it to just be no music. I wanted to just be brutal because I wanted it. The whole thing is, one of the things I love about the movie, one of the messages is that it's like your government, and this is universal. This could be any country. Yeah. Your government could be corrupt, and in that corruption be worse than your enemy.
For me, like the last lines when they were talking about like you can accept where you are and endure, or you can stand up and make change.
Right.
Like put your life on the line.
Stand for something.
Yeah. And I thought that was incredibly powerful. I didn't know that's where this film was going, because you start out, you got these kids goofing around, laughing, don't really want to be actors, but yet, the girl's kind of pretty, so let's do it. Yeah. And then during the course of this film, I don't know, I turned to you at one point, I was like, wow, when did we get here?
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of unexpected.
It was.
The changeover. The changeover was kind of abrupt, but I think that was the point. And by that point, they had been investing all this time in learning about these historical figures, particularly Bhagat Singh and the people around him. You didn't even know who Bhagat Singh was. I didn't even
know who that was. Yeah. Like he and I, we had a conversation about how, even in this country, like you told me that we hear about Gandhi over here, but I've never heard about Bhagat Singh, but it's the way that they think about revolutionaries.
Right.
And I made the comment to you, it's like, yes, I could tell you everything there is to know about Martin Luther King Jr., but a lot of Malcolm X's history is kind of redacted or like not talked about.
Swept under the rug.
Yes, because it's like, it comes from a place of considered violence as opposed to movement. In a way, like they worked hand in hand, and I feel like even Bhagat Singh and Gandhi and all the revolutionaries that were talked about in this film, their presence was required. It was necessary for change.
Right.
And that to me was like, I love the historical aspect of this film because I love history.
At one point, I was kind of getting a little bit frustrated because I was like, I just want to see more of the historical aspect of this that they keep showing us. Kind of like, there's an Ajay Devgan movie called The Legend of Bhagat Singh. I haven't watched it yet, but I was like, well, maybe I should just watch that movie because that seems to be what I want. But as the film went on and they showed these kids become revolutionaries themselves, I began to appreciate that aspect of them being college students a lot more because it really emphasized just how young these revolutionaries were. Like, he died at 23 years old or something like that.
Exactly.
I'm like, this is really mind-blowing.
And how it was literally, at one point, it became art imitating life.
Right.
Or life imitating art. Even to see, like, the parallel actors who portrayed these revolutionaries, like, side by side in their death moments. You know what I mean? Like, that was intense. To show that even though we've changed, we've still got a far way to go.
Right. So, like I was saying, I really appreciated what the film stood for, what it was going for. But they drove the parallels so much home. I was like, okay, man, I get it. I get the parallel. Like, there's a scene right at the end where they show Amir Khan and Amir Khan's alter ego from the past right before that guy blows his own head off. I'm like, I really don't need that. Like, I get it. Like, I understand what you're trying to say, movie. Like, just let's live in the present now.
But they'd already done it one time, and they you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, they kind of had to, for
too much
continuity. I hear what you're saying. I can see that, hitting you over the head, but it didn't bother me as much.
Yeah. So, like that, and like I was saying, like the strobe effect, it felt like I understand what you're saying, where it needed to develop these characters, where they're coming from being these goofy kids who are just messing around to investing themselves in this project that, you know, reinvigorates their understanding of their own culture and history. I get that, but it's like it spent so much time partying that I was like, okay, where is this movie going? For a while, I was getting frustrated.
At one point, you meant like we were like, when are you going to come back to the minister and the party leader and, you know, one of our lead characters?
Right.
I can't. What was his character's
They're all
name?
right here.
Pandy.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're like, when are we going to get back to him?
Yeah.
You know, when are we going to figure out what was that moment about where the minister offered him money, and it really finally it came back around.
Yeah.
Later. So I agree with you on the timing wise. If there was a way to kind of get there faster to that place that we were going, but it, you know, it didn't.
Conceptually, I loved the film though. Like what it was playing with in showing these modern day kids filling these roles from the past. I love that concept. I think that there was the whole thing with the DJ. Like. It was so cool to me because they planted it early in the movie and you completely forgot about it.
I said, who is that guy?
Yeah.
I'm like, he's like, you owe me. I was like, what do we owe him? How do we owe him? And you know, and then you reminded me about that's the guy he gave money to at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
That was really cool. So like the film executes a lot of what it needs to very well. Like one of the most important things to me in script writing is that all your characters have an arc, have a fundamental change that changes them permanently, and every single character has a purpose. But every single character in this movie had a radical change. They were whoever they were at the beginning. Was definitely different at the end.
Like,
it's still recording. I'm sorry.
Karen.
I'm sorry. I'm freaking out. It's still recording. Okay.
Like Karen, I'd say that he had like the deepest change, like the most like intense arc, because he was the one who, you know, from the beginning, his dad is telling him like, you know, you got to stand for something. You got to do something. Like go to college. Oh, P.S. He went to college. He was like, go to college in Michigan. I'm like, yes! Go to University of Michigan. That's where I went to. So it was really exciting for me. Side note. But I love the fact that, you know, he's talking about, you know, I can't do anything. There's nothing for me. You know, like this isn't about me. And then by the end of the film, he's the one that is telling the story to the people. And I loved that. I was wondering, like, where are you going to go? Are you going to go to the Capitol building? Are you going to go to the police? Are you going to turn yourself in? So the fact that they went to the radio station and ultimately took it back to the people, that for me as a writer, that was completely, I didn't see that coming, and I loved that aspect of it.
Yeah, there was definitely inspiring elements to this film that I can definitely appreciate and take with me into my own writing and filmmaking. My favorite actors, of course, Amir Khan was one of my favorite actors in the film, like without a shadow of a doubt. But my other favorite actor in the film was this guy, Atul Kulkarni.
Yeah, the one who played Pan. He was great.
I was like, this guy. At first, I hated him, but you were supposed to hate him.
You were supposed to.
And then like
he did his job as an actor.
His performance was so good and so believable and so moving. I was like, damn, this guy's gonna make me cry. I did not see that coming.
He did. He and like I said, the relationship between him and the other character, Aslam.
Yeah.
Yes. The two of them, their whole relationship, I think that was my favorite. That was my favorite journey in the film.
Yeah.
You know, I did love Amir Khan. Like his work was beautiful. The scene between him and the girl where he was really, you know, at the table right after they found out that AJ died, that was powerful because you really got to see this character who didn't want to feel anything other than, you know, be that guy. You know, he talked about how he graduated years ago, but still just wanted to be there.
Right.
You know, and finally he grew up. He grew up in that one moment, and it was so beautiful to watch him. Like as an actor, that's the kind of work you want to be able to do. Right. You know.
Just to give you guys some context, like that scene when Amir Khan's at the table with the main woman in the film.
Yeah.
I don't know her name.
Sue.
Okay, yeah, Sue.
Yeah.
When he's at the table and he's talking about the pilot who died, his friend, and going on about how he was the perfect guy, he was a perfect soldier, good boyfriend, he did everything right, and yet he died anyway. The way that scene was constructed, where Amir Khan's crying, it felt very real, and the music didn't overtake the scene.
Yes.
That's the kind of filmmaking I was hoping for more of from this movie, where it's like the music wasn't taking over, it was just letting it breathe, letting it be, so you could like just fall into the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when all the beating was happening at the protest, I would have preferred no music whatsoever. All you heard was sound effects, just to show how brutal these corrupt people are.
I can see that. To show the transition, honestly, the transition from this joyful, you know, carefree film, in moving into the political arena the journey that we ended up on.
Right.
So I can see that. Like I absolutely I can agree with that.
Yeah. But overall, I still really liked the movie.
I really enjoyed it.
You know, I liked it a lot more than I was expecting to. Like the way it was starting out, I'm like, I don't know what am I gonna say about this movie? And then it turned into this other thing over the course of the film. Like, oh wow, this is actually really special. Like I did not expect for it to absorb me the way it did. So I really appreciate it.
I completely agree. I'm really glad you guys picked this one.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was going into, and I didn't know what to expect. And I'm so glad that I saw this film.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it was really good.
So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for
recommending this.
For picking this one.
Good job.
Please check out Cortney Wright on the social media. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out other reactions, reviews, short films, and video game related videos. I'm Jaby KOAY. This is
Cortney Wright.
Peace out. I don't think I'm gonna edit that down at all.
Except for the part that you say, is this
where
recording?
I walked out for a second, yeah.